Let's just go. So welcome everybody. This is Mark Allen Powers from Collective Hive and Going Beyond the Post, which is our new show. And today, a friend and a renowned social media strategist, global keynote speaker. Bryan's an executive coach, a best-selling author, Bryan Kramer. Welcome, Bryan. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
Fantastic. I'm really excited to have you on the show. And as you know, we're just getting this show started. We're trying to do something that really helps companies get behind the more, recognize more tangible results from their social media. And I think you and our friend Ted Rubin does a very good job of explaining that, humanizing that experience. And you've become well known for that H2H and that human-to-human marketing component. So I wanted to really share with our audience, what does going beyond the post mean to you as it pertains to your business, your books, etc.?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think that's my whole philosophy is built on being human, and so going beyond the post definitely brings us to the human aspect of what we all want to do, which is build relationships, which should be right in line with my brother Ted Rubin and his whole return on relationship piece, which is a step brother, or maybe just a brother or sister to HGH. They work and play well together. There is a human component to just about everything that we do, and everything about social media in general really is, all about connection, how we connect with others. So it definitely is more than a post.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I think a lot of companies are still struggling with that, right? I mean, years ago, posting for the sake of posting might have worked. And in some cases it did work for companies, but as you are well aware of, building those relationships and going beyond that post in terms of, the content and social media. When we do social media, and same with Pure Matter, I'm sure any kind of marketing, when you start to look at inbound marketing, for example, that is so relevant to today's message, I think, because you're building upon those relationships. You're expanding beyond that post. You're taking that content to where the consumer or that audience or that human is, and at the time that they are in whatever channel they're in, right? So I think, if businesses start to realize that the messaging that they're putting out there, the dollars that they're investing, if they want tangible, true results, they have to realize on the other end of that message is humans like us, right? And I think marketers are starting to get that, but some of these smaller, mid-sized businesses, I still think are struggling. What's your take on that?
It depends on the size of the company to my response, because small businesses and especially entrepreneurs don't have time. Time is like their limiting factor to succeeding. Yeah. And being an individual at any business, trying to both promote and market yourself as well as, serve the customer at the same time is a challenge for just about everyone out there. And so, where we're at now and where things are starting to get exciting is because people are starting to look at ways that tools can help them streamline it faster so that they can spend more time building a relationship and less time working on posts and marketing themselves. So, I think that, that's where humans and machines, or humans and technology, will continue to work together in the future to help make that more possible for people to grow their businesses.
Right.
But still, the problem is that whole spray and pray, challenge. And that's now for every business. Now this is businesses of all size. Where do you put your effort? Where do you put your time? And putting your time into, a certain channel or a certain social media platform versus even just, ads versus, looking at how you're going to build a funnel or how you're going to do event marketing or ebooks, or, the things that you can do to promote your business now are pretty endless.
Right.
And so, you have, that's a job unto itself. everyone, every size, every company needs to pick the right tactics that are good for them based upon where their customers are. And just because Facebook is popular right now doesn't mean that that's where you need to play as a business. So I'm not saying that Facebook isn't a place to go, but
Right.
these are the things that I think, to go back to your question, that businesses are asking of themselves is, again, one, dependent upon size, it's time. Two, it's resources and money. And three, it's which tactics do I choose that's going to make, the most impact with the least amount of time that I can invest. And that hits all levels of businesses.
Oh, you're not kidding. I mean, I think for us, and Collective Hive is a relatively new organization. I formed in 2014, but we were doing some other things out of and I had to not compete due to another business venture I had. And we just launched, recently in the last, 2018, January, actually. And I'll tell you, the momentum we've gained and the branding that we're getting out there is good. But the challenge that we find, I think, with anybody in this industry is, what truly differentiates a marketing company from another. And I think other brands are trying to say the same thing, is what truly differentiates our brands from another brand, a like competitor or whomever. I mean, us consumers, our humans, we're so demanding, but we're also so busy, and we're inundated with brands throwing stuff at us in our emails, in our on our phones, and our text messages. Our social streams are filled, right, with options. And the challenge I think that so many of us face as a consumer side of it is what makes us different? What makes that product or service or company or brand different, and why should I choose them? What are your thoughts on that? What do you think that we could do as customers or consumers looking to, cut through the clutter, if you will, the spray and pray kind of approach, as you say?
Yeah. That's the thing. Like, so you're asking the question to the silver bullet.
Yeah.
That because right now, and if I had one single silver bullet, I would be a wealthy person.
That's right.
Because then we can, everybody would. But then again, everybody would do that one thing, and then we'd have to start over again and figure out something else that not everyone is doing. So this is the circle of the marketer's life, is figuring out something that no one else is doing.
Yeah.
And doing that. And that's the answer, is not doing what everyone else is doing. You have to figure out what's different and unique about the product you're selling, and it has to come from the product or service.
Right.
If it's the same as other things that you're selling, it's you're gonna have an uphill battle trying to market your product or service, because you're now competing with like products that getting people to adopt is going to be hard. So that's A. B, if you're not differentiated, meaning you don't have a place to head in the future for yourself and maybe your employees, like a stake in the ground saying, this is where we want to get to, this is what we want to achieve, then you're going to be spinning your wheels. Sure. And three, then finding that differentiator, that one thing that makes everything different, and then saying, okay, this is how we're going to put that out into the world, and doing that differently. So maybe that's not just blogging like everyone else is doing and trying to cut through the content noise. Maybe it's, doing something a little bit more unique. There's so many different ways that you can do that, using video and, follow up with phone calls in person and events, and just really unique ways that you can stand out. So that's the key, is sitting down and figuring out like what is that one thing. What's your competitor, or what's your industry doing? What are they doing outside your industry that you might take some good things away from? And then how can you differentiate by doing something different than what everybody else is doing?
Great advice. No, that makes a lot of sense. It just seems like so many companies continue to ask, well, when they're trying to set budgets, for example, right? I'm shocked at how many organizations still don't, and mostly the small, I'd say small to lower mid-market or lower market, don't really understand how to truly set up a marketing budget. And the realistic expectations are not set in terms of what value we get based off of a dollar amount that they put into marketing. And I think the advice I would probably give to a lot of businesses is really when you start to hire an agency or hire somebody for an in-house opportunity to run your marketing, going beyond the post, really you need to look at the channels that you're going to go you put your messaging across, right? Distribute your messaging across, the dollars that you want to spend, but then set those realistic success metrics in place to make sure that you're getting that tangible result out of it, right? And somebody who wants to spend $600 a month on social media, I'm not going to say that it can't be accomplished, but it's a big difference between a $600 a month and a $2,500 retainer a month in what you're going to get, right? And I think that is a big misconception, and companies aren't realizing the dollar spent and the ROI that they're trying to achieve just need to kind of, make more sense. And I think us agencies need to do a better job outlining scope and understanding deliverables and success metrics myself personally. But talk to me a little bit about Shareology. I was reading up on the book online. Be honest, I haven't bought it yet. I want to, and I promise you I will. And it will be done this week, and I'll put proof that I bought it. But tell us about the book, please.
Yeah, the Shareology is the iteration. It's the how to the why of my first book, Human to Human or H to H. And so in my first book, I outlined why we need why it's now important more than ever that humans. That people interact with each other and engage with each other. With the now we've got artificial intelligence and machine learning and virtual reality and augmented reality and bots and automated emails, and the list goes on. So with all of these different things happening, it's easy to lose touch with what actually matters, which is what actually converts. Yeah. which is a relationship and it's real people. So that was the premise of the first book. Then to answer your question about my second book, Shareology, it was then to take it to the how do you actually do that? And so I interviewed several thousand people of different walks of life all across the board to figure out what the sharing equation was. Okay. In sharing, not just on social media, but in life, in our physical things, in our Airbnb kind of Uber on demand physical life, as well as our actual conversations and communication, both online and off. And it really was a lot of fun to put together and do the research on why people really look at it's really why do we communicate with each other, and as things change, we're going to be changing with it, and I started to take a look at that as well, like what are some brands that are doing it well and how are they succeeding in humanizing their brand.
Do you think that technology and that approach, that whole Internet of Things and how just everything's going to be, it's already starting to connect obviously, but is really going to transform in the next couple of years more so, people's lives more so than it is today, and why, you think? And does that Shareology component truly play into that mix in terms of, the technologies and the devices and the wearables and all the things that we're around all day long that it collects data to some degree, right? And it gives us that communication capability. Does that make sense?
Yeah. There's a lady by the name of Faith Popcorn who wrote a book in 1984, might be 82, okay, called the Popcorn Report, and she talks about a lot of these things that we're now facing, like for instance cocooning, like how we can work, right? Work and live in our homes without ever having to leave. We can buy things like, Amazon will deliver things now within 2 hours, depending upon where you live. Right. And you can get your food delivered. You can get your just about anything you need without ever having to leave your home. So, she predicted that this cocooning theory would happen, and it has. I ended up meeting her at a presentation we hired her for in New York, and asked her that question about where it's going now. Right. What happens with all this data that we're collecting, and it depends on who you are and who's listening to this and how scary, this statement might be. I'm not scared by it because I do believe that what she was saying, which is that humans will always exist and humans will always have, will always be relevant. But we will start to connect our data and our things to us more and more and more as time goes on.
Right.
Just look at things like healthcare, where, eventually they're going to be able to put a little device into your bloodstream that can swim around and then, either disseminate the right drugs at the right time so you don't have to worry about it, or fix an issue with a piece of tissue that, typically they'd have to go to surgery for, to the point where, different technology might be able to actually matrix into your core, system, your brain, and give you access to more knowledge than you've ever had before. But the thing is that we're in control of all of this. And we're in control of the data that we allow into our bodies or into our purview of whatever that we take. So, it's really important that we're cognizant of that we're in control of that right now. And the more that we let in, the more that, we're giving away that level of freedom. So you just need to be cognizant of it, I think.
Yeah, no, I would definitely agree with that, Bryan. And thanks for sharing that. It's, I'm not scared by it either. I love data. I'm very data driven, and I love the whole machine learning aspect of life that we're in, and supervised machine learning, and anything that gives us that. I mean, automation to some degree is needed in today's world, but I think as much as we try to do, and how I've been growing our company, is organic as possible, true to the relationship to that person as much as we can. It's, I go out and I find, like on Instagram, I've had people ask, well, how come you don't have thousands upon thousands upon thousands of followers? Because I'm not like a lot of people out there buying that stuff. I'm organically building those relationships. I don't care if it's one person at a time. We're connecting with brands. We're connecting with individuals. We're connecting with influencers. And we're having real conversations. So if that just organically grows at a smaller rate, quality over quantity, in my opinion, is that something that you would concur with to our audience, or would you have better advice than that, I guess, of growing a brand?
Of growing a brand and connecting with your audience?
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say that, I'll tell you this. I would say that, a lot of the traditional ways and things that we once did actually stand out more now than they ever have. Case in point, when was the last time that you received something actually in your mailbox that was a handwritten letter from someone thanking them for something? In fact, I don't know about you, but my mailbox even doesn't really deliver bills anymore. Everything's all online and for the most part in e-statements. So when I get any kind of mail, I'm actually kind of excited at this point.
Exactly.
Unless it's a bill for a lot of money, then I'm not so excited. But there's a level of traditional thinking that we're trying to stay so ahead of the curve with technology and trying to outdo people with what's the latest, greatest. And don't forget that actually the traditional stuff that once was the cutting edge stuff is actually more cutting edge now than ever. Again, dropping a letter into the mail may not seem like it's technology cutting edge, but it's going to do a much better job than an email blast to 25,000 people. Yeah,
I would agree with that one. I know we're approaching our time here, Bryan, but any other bits of advice? I mean, you've done an amazing job, and congratulations on your continued success. And some smaller brands out there, smaller companies out there that are really trying to get a hold on social media. We talked a lot about some good advice here already, but some couple, three things that they could take away from today's meeting here. What would that be to really help them go beyond the post? Just posting content and hoping that pray and spray the approach. I mean, what would be things?
I'm really pragmatic. So, and thank you, by the way. I really appreciate you having me on the show. And I can leave you with one thought, kind of divided out into three ways that you can work on your brand, whether it's your personal brand or your business brand.
Right.
And I'll leave you with this. It's the pillars that actually go into the H2H philosophy, which is simplicity, empathy, and imperfection. And as you're kind of thinking about each of those different pillars and what makes up like somebody that you trust, know, and like, an actual human, right? Like that you think, wow, I really want to work with that person. And when you have a connection between two people that really want to work together, the work becomes more fun, and we tend to continue that relationship for a very long time. And what attracts people in the first place to want to work together, and when I say people, I mean brands, because brands are really, really people driven. You don't buy a company, you buy a person, I think. And so when you take a look at how to actually humanize your own brand, think about it in terms of that simplicity. Is it really easy to understand what it is that you do? Kind of the In-N-Out burger model. They've got 3 things you can order, and they came along like late in life after Burger King and McDonald's were crushing it, and now they're one of the most sought after brands in the world. And so their whole thinking was simplify and simplify something that's been overly complex for a while, which is all about selling a burger. Yeah. So it's kind of cool. Number 2 is empathy. Make sure that you not only have empathy for your customer, but you embrace empathy with all of the communication that you have online and off, especially online. I mean, when was the last time that you reached out to a company on Twitter and didn't receive a response, and how badly you felt for putting yourself out there against that, for that company, and really just didn't want to work with them anymore after not receiving that response. So have empathy for your customer. And then finally, embrace your imperfections. Perfect doesn't exist. There's no such thing as perfection. We're just constant and never ending improvements of ourselves and our brands. And so really working on embracing imperfection. I think people want you to succeed, but they also want to see that you're human and you have challenges and failures as well. And by trying to be too perfect, you're actually, I think, hurting your brand. So now take all 3 of those things, put them together, and you will have the most human brand out there.
Oh, I love that advice. I'm going to use that for myself, because I'm putting myself out there too on this. Like I started thinking, I want to differentiate my own brand, and I love doing this kind of stuff, right? But going beyond the post is really a reach for me, doing this and being in front of this camera and trying to figure out all this technology. And that's a little nerve-wracking for me as well. But you make it fun. You make it easy for me today, so I'm not as nervous. Bryan, wow, good to see your face. Good to hear your voice. Thank you so much for supporting me and doing this for us. It means a lot. Thank you.
That's great. Well, congrats on your own success, and I'm looking forward to sharing this out.
Thank you. Everybody, Bryan Kramer, you can visit bryankramer.com, and you can see there where he has his books, and Shareology is his latest one, and H2H. And Bryan, thanks again. Enjoy your day.
Thank you.
Take care now.